Hello, it's Crafty Carol here with another little video for you, and this time I'm going to show you how to make one of these little boxes. The one I'm actually going to make is slightly bigger than this because this I found online as an idea. I've made it slightly differently but it apparently fits a cream egg. Well, I didn't buy cream eggs this year. I've bought Lindt eggs, and although it will just about fit in, it's a little bit tiny. If I try and show you, it will sit in like that, but can you see it's just making it a little bit too big. So it does fit in, and I will use these boxes for that, but it has to fit in a very specific way. So I've actually made them slightly bigger in my sizes. So anyway, see what you think, but I quite like the slightly bigger one. You see, it doesn't just quite shut. It does tie with ribbon, but hey. Right, so I'm using, we need very little for this project. I'm actually using some of this lovely Easter Joy specialty paper, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful sort of foil design. I don't know if you can just see that catching the light there, hopefully. On one side, and then obviously plain on the other. So you've got, again, double-sided. So there is, if I can get them out, these lovely foiled eggs, and then this I like this as a background. I'll definitely use that side. This side has got some beautiful pale bunnies and Easter eggs and baskets on one side, and some lovely daffodil flowers on the other. This one has got 6 different card fronts or backgrounds or what do we call them, scrapbook pages or whatever, and this nice design on the back, a sort of squared design. This one, I've actually used a sheet of this, but it's got this lovely green, just plain green design, shy shamrock on the back, and these lovely just decorations on the front. That's what I've used for this one. This one has stripes and this nice pattern there, and this final one has these lovely sort of mixtures of things, flowers and eggs and whatever, and then a lovely sort of pattern on the back, which is the paper I've used for today. So it's a lovely set of DSP. I quite like it, and I should be making more Easter projects with that. So ever so simple for this project. You only need 2 bits. You need a square of coordinating cardstock, so coordinate it with one of the colours in here. It'll show on the inside more than anything, so I've used Balmy Blue to match that on the inside. Then you want a strip of DSP. The size. The square needs to be 8.5 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres, and this strip is 27 centimetres by 6.5 centimetres. And did I actually put the other bits? I've got the inch measurements for this bit. This bit is 3.1 inches by just over 3 inches square, and the bit for this bit is 10 inches by 2.5. So if you want inches, that's what you want. So first of all, we're going to do a fair bit of scoring. So I'm going to move the cutting blade well out of the way, and we're just going to be scoring. And for this base card, for inches, it is, I can't remember, I think it's half an inch. I think it's half an inch for inches for that one. Whatever. Anyway, I'm working in centimetres today. So for this, I'm going to score it at 1 centimetre. So I'm going to use the score lines on the right here and butt up my card directly to that 1 centimetre mark. Make sure it's nice and straight at the top, and then score. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. It's very simple. You're not doing exactly the same thing on all of the sides. Just remember to make sure that it is exactly up on the 1 centimetre mark and well butted up to the top, so you get a nice straight score line. It's amazing how easy it is to just let it come off this top one and not get it quite straight. So very simply, you can see I've just got all those 4 score lines there. Before I'm going to bend them and do anything, I am just going to cut it in half. So I'm going to line up 2 of the opposite points. It is square, so it doesn't matter which way round this happens. Bring my score blade up into the centre. It doesn't actually matter with this piece if you do damage the corners, but because we're going to be cutting them off actually. So there we go. We're going to finish doing this piece first. So we're going to fold over all of these and give them a good burnish. Just going to use my fingernails to do that. And for each one, you can see as you fold this in, can you see how it's got an overlap here? And we're just simply going to trim off that overlap on that side and trim off the overlap as well on this side, just by running the scissors along the sort of hypotenuse of our formed triangle, and just trim those off so they're level. See that? And then this corner here, we're just going to make into a little tiny tab. So I'm going to cut up one of the first score line, and then just going to take off the tiniest little triangle on each side. So you can see how tiny that little triangle is. So tiny, I can't even get hold of it. There we go. So that is the piece you're left with. So you've got your little tab and you've trimmed off the ends. So if you do this by folding it and trimming, you can see it gets to the right angle. So we do that with both pieces. So quickly going to do it with this piece as well. Fold over, trim that end, fold over, trim that end, and then form the tab in the middle. And before we get on to our DSP piece, I am actually going to stick these together because I want to give this time to dry properly before I actually complete filling in doing the other bit. So wherever we folded it in, I'm going to put a little tiny dot of glue on the outside tab here. If I can get some out. Oh, there we go. Just a tiny little dab of glue on that, and then fold it in and carefully line it up so that it's exactly square. Just hold it together for a second, making sure it's a little bit fiddly because it's only tiny, these little tabs, but that's okay. Hold it for a second, make sure it's sticking, and then we will do exactly the same on this one. Little tiny bit of glue, fold it in, make sure it's exact, so we've got a lovely straight corner there. And I'll get rid of all these bits. I'll leave those ones up there. I shall move those in a minute. Leave those to dry while we do the next bit. So those are the side pieces done, and they're going to be ready to stick together once we've done this piece. So for this piece, we are going to do quite a lot of scoring. Now I'm going to start by scoring on the long side, so we're going to turn it round. If your piece is directional like mine, then make sure that your direction is pointing to the right when you're doing these score measurements. And that means that as you put this together, this is going to be the correct way up when you put the box together, okay? So if it's non-directional, like this paper, it didn't matter, but for this, it is important that you get that right. So we're going to score on this long side, and the first one we're going to do is 2.5 centimetres. I will put the inch measurements below, oops, something sticky on there, below this video, so you can actually, in the post, so you can see it. So the first score line is at 2.5 centimetres. The second one is at 9 centimetres. The next one is at 15.5, so you've got to be careful just to get that right, correct mark there. Again, making sure every time that your paper is butted up against here, so these are nice and straight. And then 24.5. And I didn't trim this, so we want it to be 27 so long, so I didn't trim this. I've got an extra bit on the end. I've just trimmed mine off now. There we go. So you should have these score lines, so 2.5 in from either end, and then these two in the middle at 9 and at 15.5. Then I'm going to turn it round. I'll bring this in now because I don't need it, and I'm going to score it at 1.5 centimetres on both sides of the short side. So do it that way, and then turn it round and do it the other way. So again, I'm using these figures at the side here because it's a lot easier to make sure this stays straight. You can use the lines here as well to check it's staying straight. So because it's got this metallic inner bit, if you like, of these, then you can actually see the score lines on here. So now I'm just going to do some folding, and I'm going to just fold the long lines for now. I'll show you why in a minute. And as I'm folding it, I'm making sure that my sides are exactly straight so that I know all of these score lines are straight, because if I get them slightly wrong, my box is going to look a bit wonky. So making sure it's exactly straight by lining it up against its other piece here. And then the final bit here, which is the tab. I'm going to fold both ways because the tab itself will sit out at the top. So there we have that. And you can see now how it's going to come together. But we've got a little bit of trimming to do first. So when you've folded this, you'll see there's one larger panel here. That's the larger panel. These two are smaller for the two back sides of the box. So this is going to be my front panel. You can see why the direction's now important. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim this side tab, trimming it at quite an acute angle. Can you see there? It's far more, it needs to be much more than 45 degrees. So we're going to trim like that from the edge to the score line, and the same on this bottom bit here. So make it a nice wide cut. So it's a nice broad cut here through to that score line, and the same on both sides. So cutting down to the score line there and cutting to the score line here. So can you see there, I've got these nice cuts just to this, for this one panel. If you wanted, you could cut a shape out of here, an oval shape or whatever, with a small die and put some acetate behind if you wanted to show what was inside here. I'm just going to decorate the front of mine, but totally up to you how you want to decorate this. But before we do any more putting together, we need to do some more trimming. So I need to cut off these long sides here. And I found the easiest way to do that is to line up your score line with your channel. So we're like that. And then I'm cutting from the score line where we cut the side to, if that makes some sense, like that. So I've cut off that piece, okay? I'm going to do the same the other side. Don't need that at all. So line it up. Might line it up the other way so I've got it nice and straight at the top. So lining it up so that that score line is in the channel, which you can see because it's, as I say, the metallic on this paper, it shows through. So I can make sure that I can see it directly down the middle of my piece here. And then again, using my little mark on here to line up with the score line here that I need to cut this bottom bit off. So didn't quite cut through to there, so just trim that to get it off. And then we do the same with these top bits. You can do this on the trimmer or just very simply with your scissors, just trim like that. So that is our piece now ready. So we're now going to start putting it together. So now I'm going to fold these sides in and give them a bit of a burnish to make sure that they stay in. Those are our closing flaps, so when we make the box. Okay, so now you can see now how it's going to come together. So we need to put the side pieces in. So they go on these two shorter sides here. So the easiest way I found to do it is I'm going to put a little bit of glue just down those side bits there and on that bit there. So on those two shorter bits there, okay? And then we can put this in. So you want to, sorry, I'm very hoarse today. We want to line this up so that that corner there lines up exactly with this score line. Sorry, I'm very croaky today for some reason. And I'm going to stick one bit down, make sure it's stuck well down. And then I can bring the side up to join it. So I'm making sure I'm lining it up just a little bit fiddly this to make sure it's perfectly lined up. I'm just going to tip that this way so that I can press that down nicely. Making sure it's exactly lined up with the edge. Like that. Hopefully that's stuck, there we go. And that's one side in. So I'm going to do the same with the other side. Just run a little bit of glue down these edges. One on that piece and one on this piece here. And stick those in again. Whoops, making sure I get it the right way around. There we go, with the tabs inwards. So again, shoving it up to the score line, so make sure that it's well into that corner and lined up with the edge. And you can see I'm using Tombow, using the liquid glue, because it's definitely need a little bit of wiggle room with this. And then the same with this side bit here, making sure it's right onto the edge, lined up, and just press it down like that. And there is our little sandwich box. So you can see there that these bits slide inside to hold, and this is our top bit. So to decorate that, I'm actually using, oh, I can get it out. Oh, don't slide back where I can't get you. There we go. Should have got this out before we started. There we go. I'm using one of these little hole punches. Oh dear, I'm so croaky today. I do apologise. And I'm just going to slide this in and then make sure it's fairly well down. And I'm just going to centre it by eye and punch out. So I'm doing both together, so I get them together there. So I've got my little hole there for my ribbon. And where have I put, oh, I put the egg in there, didn't I? So take that one out of there and show you that it sits much better in this one. It sits with a little bit more room. You can see it's actually sitting nice and flush with the edges there. And I can tuck that in, and then I just need my little bit of ribbon, which I'll just go and get. So you don't need very much ribbon, just a couple of inches, a few inches, perhaps 4 inches, something like that. I don't know quite how long this actual piece was. Oh, I could measure it sometime, then I'll tell you. So yeah, about 4 to 5 inches of ribbon. Put this together, and I'm going to slide it through my slots that I've already created. Pull the ends through. Perhaps 6 inches of ribbon. Look at me, I'm being a bit mean with the ribbon here. It's a little bit fiddly to get those bits through. Just pull that closed. Ooh. There we go. And I'll trim those because they've pulled through and made a bit of a mess. So we'll just trim those off to look neat. There we go. And there is our box all put together. So to decorate it, I'd already done these. This is from an old set. I've just, bits everywhere. I've just cut out Little Rabbit, coloured him, and I'm going to stick him on, and I've stamped Happy Easter and trimmed those, just trimming round the words on it. I'm just going to pop those on with some dimensionals. So I will have some bigger ones for the back. Yet another dimensional sheet nearly used up. It's amazing how I go through these. And just stick him on. We'll have him up here. Oops. Make sure he's straight. There we go. And then my Happy Easter. Again, I'm just going to put a couple of these on here. Just using the mini dimensionals because this is quite fiddly, these little pieces that I stamped here. Stick those on there. So, fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. There we go. So I'm doing these for everybody for Easter. This is my Easter present for everyone this year. So I've got quite a few of these eggs, so I should be making quite a few of these little sandwich box ideas. I've got that sticking to me as well, all the dimensional tops. Where do you find dimensional tops? I find them everywhere. So there we have it. There is my little sandwich box. Here is the slightly smaller one. I have got the inch measurements for the slightly smaller one, so I shall put those in. You can see it's not that much smaller. I've just done, these are 1/2 centimetre bigger, that's all in the pieces. And you can see it doesn't make too much difference, but it just means that that egg that I've got, not my Lindt egg, just fits in much better. So there we have it. I will put the inch measurements for the left-hand box. I shall put those in the post so you can get the inch measurements there. I hope you like this little treat. I think it's a lovely thing for a little Easter present. Obviously you could fit whatever you wanted in here, but it does fit little eggs beautifully. So thank you for joining me today. All of the details will be on my blog on my website at craftycarolscards.co.uk. Please do sign up for my emails, and then you'll get my newsletters and find out when I'm live, so you can come and join me and craft along with me first Thursday of every month. And the details are all in the email, so do sign up. Thanks for joining me today, and bye for now.